Hello, little Watson. And today I wanted to do a video about allergies, seasonal allergies. So, not everyone, but a lot of people have allergies that sometimes last throughout the year, like dust allergies. I have dust allergies. They're not the worst, but I am definitely allergic to dust. But a lot of people get really bad allergies in the springtime, or hay fever is what it's commonly known as. And that's because trees are pollinating, plants are pollinating, everything you can imagine. There's tons of airborne particles that irritate people's air pathways and passageways, their eyes and their ears, throat, and even skin. I have always had bad allergies since I was a kid, and it's from my dad. He has terrible allergies, and my brother does as well. We're just kind of cursed people. I was told when I was about 14 or 15 by my doctor, who I went to see about my allergies, because I would get them so bad in the springtime. I would have such a stuffed nose that it would get infected and I'd get a sinus infection. And so I would get one almost every single year and just go, and his recommendation was just to take allergy medicine every day, all year round. So I did that for forever, for until now, I guess, forever of my life, since being a teenager, trying all different brands of allergy medicine. Anyhow, I wanted to do a video about what I'm doing now. So I've generally stopped taking allergy medicine throughout the year because I just don't need anything else right now. I'd rather be as drug-free as possible and use my diet and my lifestyle to control symptoms, and it's been working for me quite well. And I had this inclination or this hope that I wouldn't get my seasonal allergies as bad this year. I had this feeling that because I've been so much healthier, that the makeup of my body's chemistry or something would just work itself out. But it didn't. Well, kind of it did, I guess. How would I put this? So maybe 4 years ago, I had my allergies tested just to be absolutely sure what was going on, because I was still not getting full relief from taking the over-the-counter allergy medicine from my doctor. So I had my allergies tested, and that's where they take your forearm and they prick a whole bunch of little dots. And then they put all the little allergens on those dots, so it goes just on your skin. And then they see how your skin reacts to each of those little dots. And it was so funny. It looked like little tiny mosquito bites. And then some of them were like pretty big. I had a few. And then one was absolutely enormous and like swelled up like this. It was this gigantic, huge mess of a hive. So the small ones were dust and mold and tree pollen, and I think that was it. General pollens. And then my huge one was grass pollen. So on his little checklist, the allergist had mentioned that I had like 1 out of 4 for most of the allergens that were normal, and then 4 out of 4 for grass pollen. And he recommended getting an allergy shot for grass pollen, and that, or shots, plural, where a few months before grass pollen season, you would go and get an injection of a slight amount of that grass pollen itself, so that you sort of desensitize to it, and then by the time grass season comes, you just don't have as strong of symptoms. So I said, sign me up, because I heard that had worked, and I got my first allergy shot, went home from the clinic, had a bowl of cereal, and then after, I was just sitting around and I started to get this crazy like itching around my ears. And it got really, really itchy, and it felt like bumps all down the back of my neck. And it started to spread around my temples. My ears felt like they were on fire. And then my nose, I could feel like it was swelling up. And the red was like all over my scalp and coming down and all around my neck. It felt like there was hives. They were all over here. And my nose just became completely filled and totally plugged up. And I knew something was wrong, so I hopped in a cab to go back to the health clinic, but it was closed, and so I kind of said, take me to the hospital, because I don't feel so well. and I got to the hospital, and the nurse immediately gave me Benadryl to take to see if it would make all this go away. And it didn't work, and so they admitted me even faster, and then I got epinephrine, which is like an EpiPen, and like steroids and all the things that they do when you have an anaphylactic reaction to something. So that was the last shot that I've ever taken for allergies. And I want to make it work. I don't want to have bad allergies anymore. So I have some little things here. That's why I keep looking over here. They're what I have been using, I guess. So unfortunately, I have gone to taking my antihistamine. I just started it at the very beginning of this month of June. So I made it all throughout April and May, which are big tree pollen months. Without taking any allergy medicine, I was fine. And so usually I have some bad allergies then, and I don't seem to be reacting as strongly to that anymore. Grass, on the other hand, has started in June. I can see it in the grass. They're pollinating like crazy. And I had one morning that was just, I felt absolute like garbage. So I started taking this again. And it has helped keep my nose clear. So I'm not sneezing and like totally runny nose all the time. And that's good. So that's what I've been doing. Now, I've been told, or it just makes sense, that if you have local honey, it's much better for people with seasonal allergies because bees use plants that are around you to make their honeys, and some of the pollen ends up in the honey, and if you ingest it, it's kind of like the overexposure. You're getting a little tiny bit of it inside of you, and so then when you're breathing it, you're a little bit desensitized to it. And I did that last year, just trying to get as local as possible. And this year I went to the store and I wanted to try a different brand. So I was looking through looking for ones that said made in Canada, where I live. And not only that, but like where it was, so that Canada's pretty big. So I wanted to find honey that was like local, within like a 2-hour radius of where I'm living. And I found one that's actually from like 3 kilometers from my parents' house, like where I grew up. I found it, and I thought, I'm buying that. Like, how much more local could you get? I probably know these people, or know people who know these people. And so this is the honey I got. Yeah, I got clover honey, because clovers grow near grass. It's really tasty. I just have a little bit every morning, like in my tea. I'll put a spoonful in something. Just a teaspoon. So the funny story about this is when I was last talking to my parents, I told them that I bought local honey and that it was from right around where they are living. And my dad grew up in that area as well. So yes, oh, who is it? Is it Burke's? And I said, yes it is. It is Burke's. And he's like, oh, I dated Kathy Burke back in high school. And that just made me laugh, because how much more local can you get? That's pretty local. That's my funny honey story. So I wonder if it's working. I'm not too sure. It's delicious and it has a great little story, and I'm supporting someone super local that used to date my dad in high school. So I think that's pretty grand. So when things get serious, and I think that I'm probably an abnormal case when it comes to allergies, because I have such a strong allergy to grass. Last night I woke up in the middle of the night feeling like my nose was completely restricted. Like I can feel when it swells up inside, when something's irritating it, it becomes incredibly itchy. So if you're familiar with like itchy palate, where it's just like the inside of your nose, the back of your throat, and your ears just get so itchy you want to rip them out, and it hurts. It's painful. That happened, and I could barely breathe through my nose. The pathways had just been restricted, and I couldn't blow my nose or anything very well. So I tried a little tiny bit of saline, just to, if there was anything there to get it moving. I had that, and because it was a little bit bad, I had benedryl. And that's like a, very rare for me to actually take this, because it makes me fall right asleep. And it's very, very strong. So this is for when things get bad, Benadryl is good to have. It's actually very good to have in a first aid kit in general, so that if, you know, in case you're bit by a bug or something and you start having a really bad reaction, you can take Benadryl and it helps. This saline mist, though, can be used whenever, and that's just Life brand. I have a neti pot as well that I used to use, but I have a lot of nose problems, and it started to really hurt. I have a deviated septum. Sometimes it would get clogged and then get infected. So I prefer just to do nothing. So this is also, I used to use it a lot more frequently when I still ate dairy. Another topic for another video. I don't eat dairy. Don't need it. So that's my sort of allergy story. I hope that someday that they stop. And I hope that if I continue eating and living well, it will kind of peter away, like how my tree pollen allergy and my dust and mold doesn't seem to affect me very much at all anymore. So if those can kind of ease their way out of my system, then maybe grass will, or maybe it won't. Maybe I will just have very intense grass allergies every year. And that's just something I'll have to live with. You have allergies, and if you have any tips, how the heck do you deal with it? And what do you do? Do you take drugs? Do you just stay indoors and close the windows and put on the air conditioner? Do you wear a face mask? Or do you enjoy having allergies? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next vlog.